Hello, football fans! Dave Hewitt here on the Harris Football YouTube channel with Christopher Harris himself. Hey, Chris!
Hello, Dave Hewitt, you manly man. How are you?
You old so-and-so. All right.
What's going on? I'm punch drunk. I'm
Cool.
tired. Let's just preface this whole video by saying I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm ready.
All right. I'll have to carry the energy level. Let's get some more caffeine in me. We're ready to talk about some wide receivers, rookie wide receivers for this year. And we're going to go through your ranks and work our way down, and then I'll disagree with you when you're wrong.
Okay. I mean, so there'll be no disagreeing, obviously.
Yes, because you're perfect. Here we go.
Yeah, always right.
The first rookie in your wide receiver ranks comes in at number 39 overall, Jerry Jeudy. Sorry, 39 wide receiver, right. Not overall. Jerry Jeudy lands in Denver. How are you feeling about Judy and his landing spot?
Well, so, I mean, maybe we preface the whole conversation and Judy being a great place to start by saying, notice you're saying number 39. Like, we're not talking about a top 3 fantasy wide receiver. He's in the neighborhood. It could work out. They all have upside. It's a historic wide receiver class, but it's a very difficult year for any rookie to come in and contribute right away. That position already is wildly difficult for a rookie to contribute unless you're a very specific kind of receiver, which we'll get to, which I'm not sure that Judy is. I really love him as a prospect. There's a reason he's a high first-round pick. He's a terrific player. I liken him to Amari Cooper in the Almanac, and that's hopefully a good thing. Like, yeah. They both went to Alabama. Cooper's a little mercurial, a little bit up and down in a way that I hope Judy won't be. But I think filmically, when we watch Judy, we see someone who plays from the slot, who plays outside, who can run well enough to go deep, who's an accomplished route runner to get open in shallow routes. He should be a jack of all trades. Is he Cortland Sutton? Is he a dominant player waiting to happen? I don't know. It's interesting, this Alabama group of receivers that have come out lately, I kind of feel the same way about Calvin Ridley in Atlanta. Maybe also a pretty good comparison. Is he a future number 1? He hasn't had to be yet with Julio. I don't think Judy needs to be with Sutton. I would take Sutton way ahead of where I would take Judy, but professional guys who can play right away. I mean, Calvin Ridley scored a bunch of touchdowns his rookie year, so 100% draftable. I'm probably not drafting him to be a starter for fantasy, but I don't think he's got bust written on him as a rookie.
All right, that's fair. I mean, some of his fate is going to be in the hands of how he mixes with the quarterback. Like you said, this year especially, we didn't get the mini camps and stuff like that. So the same thing is going to go for the next guy on your list. His former teammate, Ruggs, lands with the Raiders in Vegas, and this guy's fast.
Yeah, absolutely. The comparison I gave to him in the Almanac is Will Fuller. I think the Raiders took him as the first overall pick, first receiver in the first round of this past draft, thinking he's more than that, thinking that he's Tyreek Hill, that they can do millions of different things with him, that they can scare defenses, they can make other players in their offense better because he's such a dynamic weapon. And if you even have the threat of a jet sweep to him or a toss or a throwback or whatever, that it could get other guys open. At this point, we've heard, I mean, it depends on when people are watching this video, right? We're recording this the 3rd week in August, and all we've really heard about from Raider camp is Bryan Edwards, how amazing the other rookie, the kid from South Carolina, is, and he's standing out, and who's this Henry Ruggs guy? And I think I have no idea how to interpret that. I'm not there. I'm not in the coaching side. I don't know. But it's such a hard position to play that Ruggs as just a pure speed weapon, I mean, could he be John Ross? Of course he could. Mm-hmm. But if he's not, if he's just fast and capable of getting the ball in his hands and breaking games wide open right away, he would qualify as the kind of player who there's almost no way in which he isn't feast or famine in any given week for fantasy. He will be, but those feasts could be pretty awesome, and therefore you might feel frustrated not knowing when they're going to come, and he's much more of a bye-week fill-in dude, but hard to find that kind of upside. I mean, he has tons of it. You're not going to find outside the top 40 receivers too many guys who are faster.
That makes sense. But on the other side, in the Almanac, if you read both Carr's profile and Ruggs' profile, a little bit of cold water splashed on that scares me off a little bit. That's how I felt when reading the Almanac.
Sure. I mean, probably that's partly why Bryan Edwards is getting some hype, because there's a thought that he can do different. I think the traditional receiver is going to have a hard time being a fantasy, like even the Jerry Jeudy is going to have a hard time being a fantasy star really ever, unless they score a touchdown. Calvin Ridley was a star a little bit in that rookie year with a full mini camp, with a full training camp, et cetera, because he scored a bunch of touchdowns, but still has never really proven, even through 2 seasons, that he's the guy and week to week consistent catches, yardage. It's just a hard position to play right away. So I'll give Ruggs the nod on the chance that it doesn't need to be deep passes from Derek Carr, that it more can be, great, let's get him a jet sweep. Let's just get the ball in his hands because he's just deadly.
All right, we've got some more wide receivers to talk about, but first I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Felix Gray. I'm wearing them on my face right now. Chris, you got some too?
I'm not wearing them. I'm not wearing them on my face because I just took them off to shake them at the camera because they're great. I have 2 pairs of Felix Grays now. I'll pitch in and just say, first of all, if you support the sponsors, it makes the show keep happening. So if you have a need to support any of the sponsors on the YouTube channel, it really does help. If you are on screens all day, like we're on screens all day, you might notice that you get digital eye strain, headaches, blurred vision, dry eyes, and that's why blue light filtering glasses are now a thing in the world. You've probably heard about them, and Felix Gray is one of the best. I've been wearing them now for maybe about 2 years. I've noticed a huge difference in how my eyes feel at the end of the day, having the blue light filtered out. They come in prescription. I have prescription. They come in not prescription. I think Dave Piper, your fellow producer,
I've got one of each.
Has not prescription. Shipping is free. Returns are free. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/HarrisTube.
Getting back into the list, the third guy we're going to talk about here is CeeDee Lamb. He's number 46 in your wide receiver ranks, and he lands with Dallas.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty exciting comparison. Who'd you list him to? Do you remember?
I do. Do you?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, I think I would make the argument that Jerry Jeudy was the best receiver in this class because he can do everything. He's just so safe. There's no chance of a bust. But CeeDee Lamb might have the highest upside because he really could be at some point DeAndre Hopkins in a way I don't think Jeudy ever will be. This year, it's tough, man. Like you can understand, like there's so many middle of the road, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round wide receivers, veterans who you've seen do it, who are really explosive, who are good, who probably in their future aren't going to be DeAndre Hopkins. But CeeDee Lamb's probably not going to be DeAndre Hopkins this year either. Like if that's coming for him, it's probably in the future. Maybe a future in which Michael Gallup is no longer in Dallas, because I would imagine at some point that's the straw that drops. Like that's the thing that they can't afford. Finally, they've been able to give Amari Cooper a giant bonus, and they're paying first-round money on Lamb. Tough to say that it won't be up and down, but he has that sort of upside to play from the slot and be great the way Hopkins was last year, to play on the outside and be great the way Hopkins had been previously. Really nice route runner. Again, not the fastest, but really good size and fast enough to be tough in 50-50 balls. Hard to say. I mean, all 3 of these top guys have massive upside. Maybe Judy's upside is a career excellence, but maybe not like, oh my God, he was the wide receiver 1. Ruggs someday could be the wide receiver 1, and it wouldn't be shocking if he's Tyreek Hill. And CeeDee Lamb could be the wide receiver 1 someday, and it wouldn't be shocking if he's DeAndre Hopkins.
I could be on board with that, but I think out of the 3 guys we talked about, CeeDee is the one I'm most excited about for this year. And part of that is just who's throwing him the ball. We're talking about Locke. Okay. We're talking about Carr. Out of those 3, I feel a little bit better about Zach. I know he's got the 2 wide receivers ahead of him, but I kind of feel like, all right, maybe the depth chart's not great and the quarterback kind of washes out. And this is the guy who, I've already put the highlights together for this video. This is a guy that I got excited about watching.
Yeah. So that is, I think the argument that says CeeDee Lamb can't be good or anybody can't be good because of their depth chart is always the crutch argument. Is always sometimes it's true, but it's not by definition true. Which is what a crutch argument is. And my concern is more that Amari Cooper's a real, for as much as I give Amari Cooper, he's a really, really good player who's clearly, by any stretch of the imagination, a much better player right now than CeeDee Lamb is, because he's been through it. He's been in the league. So that's my concern, is just when somebody is much better. It's like, I like Calvin Ridley fine, but guess who I'm not that excited about for as long as Julio Jones is there. So it's kind of a depth chart argument, but it's not really like, oh no, there are other bodies. No, there's an awesome body there. But your point is well taken. If you were ever going to choose from among which quarterback you want your rookie running back, your rookie wide receiver rather, to to be attached to, you'd pick Dak out of that three for sure.
All right. We've got the next chunk are all together ranked 49, 50, 51, 52 in your wide receiver ranks, which I think probably tells us a little something about how you're ranking them. But we got Reagor 49, Jefferson 50, Pittman, and Aiyuk. So we've got those four guys back to back. Is this a little bit throw our hands up in the air? How do we do this year?
Yeah, I don't know how to. I can tell you what kinds of receivers I think they'll wind up being, but I can't tell you how it's going to work out because I don't view any of those four dudes as undeniable talents who, with no mini camp, with no exhibition season, with no real training camp, can just through sheer force of will decide that they're going to be the focuses of their respective offenses. Like, I just don't think that's the case. So they have week to week upside, and I don't imagine they have any sort of safe floor. So they're much more, you want to be taking those guys in round 9.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take, I would be great taking any of them. And I don't know which one's going to pop because nobody can really know. We can go through them real quick. Like Jalen Reagor in Philly. Kind of my comparison for him is Deshaun Jackson. Hopefully, like Deshaun Jackson with a conscience, with a brain. Like,
careful on the tweets.
You go the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, the Wizard of Oz route. But fast. Like he didn't test as fast as people expected him to, but is fast and should. There's lots of opportunity, I guess. But again, if you can't play, great. I mean, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, people loved him last year because there was going to be lots of opportunity. But if you can't play, guess what? It doesn't really matter if you get opportunity. But I think Reagor can play. I think he's okay. I'm more excited about Justin Jefferson as a prospect, but I think the kind of receiver he's going to be, my comparison for him is Keenan Allen. It's just going to take longer to be Keenan Allen. It's much less about running down the field and being open because you're fast and being a technician. But Justin Jefferson was such a good player at LSU. We remember what he looked like at LSU. He's great. Michael Pittman, interesting. So he goes to the Colts, and they have a lot of moving parts. And I wouldn't, T.Y. Hilton, if he's himself, he's a better player than the other guys. But like Paris Campbell, I don't know, maybe. And Michael Pittman, I don't know, maybe. His defenders will say he's Michael Thomas. His enthusiasts will say, don't worry about the lack of deep speed. Michael Thomas doesn't have it either. What he's got is the big body and the ability to get open with one or two steps. And I'm not sure that's what I saw on college film, but I'm willing to have my mind changed. The comparison I gave him was Kelvin Benjamin. That's almost like the bad version of Michael Thomas, but that's a pretty big, wide spectrum between the two. And then the fourth one you mentioned, Brandon Aiyuk, he probably also qualifies as the kind of receiver who doesn't need, like the A.J. Brown type of receiver, who doesn't need to be a really polished pro yet to have a good season, because he's an awful lot like the comparison I gave him in the Almanac, Debo Samuel on the same team, where it's bully ball. Debo Samuel can't catch the ball. I gave him a D for hands grade. Can't catch it. Doesn't really run routes. But boy, you get him the ball in his hands, he's a running back. He's scary in the open field in the same way A.J. Brown is, and Michael Gallup and Chris Godwin. And I think Aiyuk can be that kind of player. Does the workload consolidate around him? Nobody can tell you that. We don't know the answer. But I give him he would belong in this neighborhood even though he's less polished than the rest of them, because he might be the kind of player who achieves without the polish that the other guys are going to need to acquire for their skills.
So we got through like the top 7 rookies, and this year's the weirdest year for talking about rookie wide receivers. There's kind of another chunk, right? We've got Mims, Cephas, Gandy Golden, Chenault. Is there anyone in there that, and I'm kind of leading you because I remember you talking about it before the draft, that jumped? I did. Who's your guy out of that group?
Well, so, no, I mean, honestly, the answer is no.
Okay.
Like, honestly, the answer is I probably don't want to draft in a 16-round, 12-team draft. I'm probably good. But maybe the one name that pops for me is Laviska Shenault, and there's been nothing, again, it depends on when people are watching this. Who knows what has come out of Jacksonville camp since then, but there's been hype, and I think that's natural for someone like Shenault, because first of all, he was hurt all last year, and people got all over him for testing poorly at the combine, and oh my God, he's so slow. He's hurt. That's why he was slow. He just was a better athlete than everyone on the field at Colorado, and he could be one of those Ayook types. It's not really an Ayook type. It's an A.J. Brown type. It's just get the ball in his hands on a 5-yard slant and let him go, let him run over people. There's a chance for that. I think personally there's probably a less of a chance of that for where he is as a recovering, having gotten surgery, and then also not feeling awesome about the situation on the quarterback and all that stuff, I probably would prefer Ayook to Shenault for that reason, and I have them ranked pretty far apart. But yeah, if there's one in a deeper league that I might take a stab on, for sure, if we're talking dynasty, all these guys are really interesting. It's a very good class, obviously, but we're talking redraft. Hard for me to see an obvious reason to draft him.
So we were talking redraft, but if we want to switch and look at dynasty, out of all these guys, it's a really good class. Who in the dynasty pops? Is there a particular name that makes you say, for dynasty, I change it a little bit?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I kind of prefer them in this order. Maybe, I had Mims pretty high for dynasty, and now I'm feeling like he's just another Miles Boykin, Cordero Patterson, freaky athlete. Like, you can go down the list of big. Oh my God, he's so big and fast. Of course he's going to be good. Have I ever seen him do it in college? Well, not really, but sure, he's going to be great. No, I think the answer is probably those three who were the high first-round picks really deserved it and really stood apart as the obvious three best receivers in this draft and three of the best of the last decade. Like, if you're going to list the 10 best of the last decade, they might be three of the 10 best prospects for receiver. Like, they're that good. And then the other first-round, the Jeffersons and the Reagors and then the Pittmans and I can see a path. I don't see maybe necessarily superstars, but it's just such a good skill position year because there are so many good running backs that I think in the second rounds of rookie drafts, you're going to be getting some of these wide receivers and be feeling like you got somebody who has a decent future as at least a wide receiver 2, if not a 1.
Yeah, that's great. You'll be doing your rookie drafts. You mentioned someone that just reminded me. Do you remember last draft season, I called you and interrupted one of your drafts? And I saved you from drafting Boykins. And you gave me hell on the podcast. Just wanted to say you're welcome. You're welcome for that.
Wait, I don't even remember this story. What happened?
I called and interrupted you during a draft. And you were like, Hewitt's calling. I better answer this phone. And when you got back, you missed Boykins in a rookie draft.
Oh, I missed Boykin. Oh, and I was like, you jerk, I was going to take Miles Boykin. I doubt I felt like I probably was just saying it to rag on you. I was like the lowest person in the world on Miles Boykin.
That's what was so weird.
I mean, like Chase Claypool with the Steelers, I'm like, maybe. I mean, he was a better player at Notre Dame than Miles Boykin, but I don't know. The guys who haven't really, I mean, he had a great last year. Claypool did. So I have seen him do it. Maybe he's not the best example, but the freaky athletes that people get, the Mimses that people get really worked up over, Harrison Butler from last year. Yeah, I want to see him be really good in college too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Seeing is believing. That's why Felix Gray sponsored this one. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. Like and subscribe and tell me how bad that outro pun was. See you guys later.
Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.